Hi everybody, it's Andrea. Hi, I'm Andrea from Autoimmune Strong. I hope it's not too bright, but I was trying to sit in my sunroom because it's like so beautiful out. I wanted to be in the sun and in the warmth. So here I am. I don't know if you can see, but I have like a lot of woods behind me because I live out in the woods. Thank you for being here. Today we are going to talk all about, drumroll please, autoimmune disease and exercise. I was hoping that today could be a Q&A and you guys could ask me your questions, tell me your stories. I love to give advice, tell you my stories, tell you my experience with things that can help you. So please feel free as I start talking to type your thoughts, feelings, reactions, stories, all of that. And so that way we can make it more of a conversation. That's how I like these Facebook Lives to go if you haven't been here before. I think it's so much more fun when we all get to talk together rather than me just talking at you. And in that vein, I love to know that you're here watching because it makes me feel better to know that someone out there cares. And so if you can just type in and say hi and introduce yourself, tell me that you're here, it like gives me so much more energy to keep talking about what I'm talking about. So it helps me keep going. So say hi, tell me where you're from, tell me if you're an Autoimmune Strong member, just so I know who's here and watching and I can tailor my talk to you and your needs, because that's what I'm here for. I do love to hear myself talk, that is true, but really I'm here to be able to provide information to you about how you can exercise safely and effectively when living with your autoimmune disease. I have been thinking a lot about Mother's Day coming up, and I've been doing, I don't know, for those of you who follow this page on Facebook. Oh my gosh, hi Carrie, hi Allison, hi Mindy. Thank you for watching. I'm so excited that you're here. And thank you for introducing yourself. That means so much to me. Okay, so I've been thinking a lot about Mother's Day. I've been doing a lot of reflection in general about my journey, why I started Autoimmune Strong, how I got here. You know, I posted yesterday that I have been a runner my whole life, and that recently I've been inspired to start running again a little bit, you know, following Autoimmune Strong protocol. And I do have something to tell you guys, something super special about cardio, but I'll save that for a little bit. And I've been reflecting a lot about this newfound path of running has led me to do a lot of reflection about like why I stopped running and who I was when I had to stop running and why I had to stop running. And I've been thinking a lot about who I was when I was in the time when I call in the thick of it. Do you guys know what I mean when I say in the thick of it? Are you in the thick of it right now? Because you probably are if you're here watching this. Because when I was in the thick of it, I was desperate for any information, anybody who could help me. I would have listened and read and studied anything to figure out why I was feeling the way I was feeling, why I wasn't able to live the life that I wanted to live, and why I wasn't able to, frankly, get off the couch because I was a mess. And this time period that I'm talking about, when things, this in the thick of it time period, happened to coincide with the time when my babies were little. I had an active toddler and an active newborn, and this in the thick of it was not just during that stage, it was like really 3 or 4 years long. And so my baby turned into a crazy running around, knocking everything down toddler, and I still had another toddler at home, and I was struggling. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but like I remember feeling like I would go out, I would do normal things, and people would look at me just like normal Andrea, and they didn't realize that inside I was dying. Like, the fact that I was sitting out to dinner and having this conversation with my friends was like, it took every ounce of effort I had to be able to go out for this one dinner. And the whole time I was sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, when is this over so I can go home and go to bed? I wasn't able to participate in that dinner with friends. I wasn't able to participate with my kids who were running around. I was basically just like making it through the day. And that's when I stopped running, because I mean, I couldn't even go to the grocery store, like never mind go for a run. And that was such a hard thing for me to deal with, because I had been a person who defined themselves as a runner. I started running when I was in high school because my dad was a runner. At the time, my dad had decided he was going to train for a marathon, and then he did train for a marathon, and then he trained for another marathon, and then eventually he ran the Boston Marathon, and we were all so proud, and it was like time that I got to spend with my dad. So we would go out for these runs, and we had father-daughter time where there was nothing to do but to talk. And running at a very young age became something special to me because I loved it, but also it was time with my dad. And I also found that I was really good at it. I ran in high school. I mean, I wasn't the best, but I ran cross country in high school and I won some races. And, I placed in the state finals. Now, I grew up in Rhode Island, so placing in the state finals is not that special because Rhode Island's a small place. It's not like placing in California, but running was like a thing I was good at, and it gave me confidence, and I became a long distance runner, and did that out of college and through my 20s. So not being able to run was like a really big hit. And it all happened at the same time as when my kids were home, and so I wasn't able to do this thing that I loved, and I wasn't able to do the caretaking thing that I loved, and I basically kind of fell apart because I wasn't able to be myself. Does that sound like where you guys are? Is anybody in that thick of it period where you feel like you're just hanging on by a thread, and you feel like you're just, Allison's asking what was my reason for stopping running. I could barely walk. Like walking up and down stairs was exhausting to me, and I would need to go sit on the couch and lie down and take a nap. That's why I stopped. I mean, it was like I literally couldn't. So it wasn't that I chose to stop. It was that my body told me to stop. And so I did. I had no choice but to listen. And on the days where I did have a little bit more energy, and I'm like, you know what? It's beautiful out. I feel like I'm going to go out for a run, and I would. And then I would pay for that, man. I would pay for that in exhaustion and fatigue. And things that I now know are exercise intolerance. For those of you guys who have been watching a bunch of my Facebook Lives before, I've talked about exercise intolerance, but I'm going to talk about it more again because I know we have a lot of new people here. So exercise intolerance. Okay, so I'll tell you that during this time, I didn't know the word autoimmune. I didn't know I had an autoimmune disease. I didn't know. Doctors hadn't diagnosed me yet. So, even if I had been diagnosed, I probably wouldn't have heard this term exercise intolerance because it wasn't a thing that people talked about. Even now, even today, I'm sure you guys have had this experience where you go to the doctor and you tell them that you're tired and that you feel exhausted, and they're like, okay, well, you just need to lose weight and you just need to start an exercise program and you'll start feeling better soon. And that's what doctors were telling me. They were also telling me I was postpartum, and they were telling me a bunch of other stuff, but they weren't telling me that I had an autoimmune disease, and they weren't talking about exercise intolerance. So I had to learn this on my own. I had to figure this out on my own. So I learned about exercise intolerance because I kept trying to exercise and I kept bonking, where I would go into a flare immediately, after exercising, or sometimes not immediately. Sometimes I would be able to exercise for an entire week and feel okay, and then I would bonk. I would have the flare at that point. So that was almost worse than it coming the day before, like immediately after, because it's like you get hope, right? You get hope of being able to go out and be this person that you used to be, and you get to move around and run. And for me, I had hope, and then I would get a flare, and then I'd be like, oh, well, here I am back in bed. So it was crushing. It was soul crushing. Kinda, did I say your name right? She's saying that that's exactly where she is, and I feel you. If that's where you are right now, I feel for you because I was there. So exercise intolerance is defined as the response that your body has to exercise, in which your autoimmune disease basically is giving you a lower level of tolerance for stress and things like exercise, because exercise is stress. So your body has a lower level of tolerance to exercise than people who don't have autoimmune disease. That is the definition of exercise intolerance. It doesn't always just apply to autoimmune conditions. It can apply to people with cancer. It can apply to people with heart conditions. But for this purpose that we're here to talk about today, I'm going to talk about it in terms of autoimmune disease. It just means that we can tolerate less. And so it means that what we need to do in order to take care of our bodies is to do less in order to get more. Does that make sense? We need to do less in order to get more. I know that's like a weird statement. Basically, what it means is that, I'll use myself as the example. So I was telling you about how like, I would run, I would go out, I would go for a 3-mile run because that's what I always used to do. 3-mile runs were like my everyday exercise. I used to go out with my dad or go out on my own and just do a 3-mile run. It was like a no-brainer. And so when I was sick, I still had it in my head. Like, I can just go out for a 3-mile run because that's like an easy peasy run. So I would go out for these 3-mile runs, and that's what would bring on this flare. So ultimately, I wasn't getting fitter. Oh, the light keeps changing. Can you guys see me? Can you guys see me? The light on my phone keeps changing. So if you can't see me, wave your hand and let me know, because I want to make sure that you're getting this. Okay, so I guess I could move this thing. There we go. Let's move it. See if you can see me better here. I don't know if that was better or worse. Yes, you can see me? Okay, Naira, thank you. I'm not the best with technology, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me. Okay, so I would go out and do these 3-mile runs, and I would have this flare up. And the thing is that my body would have been better off scaling way back and even maybe doing a 1/4 mile run, which to my brain was like too hard to wrap my head around, because I had been someone who's in their whole life, a 3-mile run was like baseline, it was normal, was easy. And to do like a 1/2 mile run as your normal and easy, like that would have messed with my ego, right? But it would have been better for my body, because my body's exercise intolerance was such that I could not tolerate this 3-mile run without getting sick. And so I needed to scale back and do the exercise that I could tolerate. And I would have been better off for it, because if you're in this cycle of doing exercise and then having a flare up and then having to stay in bed for a while and not do the exercise, and then you get back to the exercise, and then you have the flare up, and then you're back in bed, that's not doing anything for improving your fitness. It's not. All it's doing is actually making your body less fit, because you're not getting stronger just because you do 1 run or 3 runs. In order to get stronger or to adapt better to exercise, you need consistency over time. And so you don't have that consistency if you're constantly having a flare. So it's more important to do less exercise more consistently than it is to do more exercise but less often. And when you have that flare up, you're actually setting yourself way back so that your exercise intolerance is even more extreme because you're in that cycle of flare up and your body can handle less. Does this sound like you? Is this what you are going through right now? Are you trying to exercise and finding that you just end up in a flare and then you have to take time off? Or for those of you, I know that some of you are Autoimmune Strong members. Naira and Carrie, I see you. You guys are awesome. For those of you who are going through the program, are you finding that this idea of doing a little bit of exercise more consistently is making you stronger? Because that's what I found. After doing this running to flare up thing that I did forever, I eventually woke up and had an aha moment, and I was like, oh, this isn't working. This isn't working. I'm not feeling good. In fact, I feel like crap. So what can I do to change it? And I didn't know. I didn't know what I could do to change it. So I tried a bunch of things and they didn't work. I hired a personal trainer. That didn't work. And so finally I decided I was going to go back to school to figure out what did work. And what I realized is I went back to school to become a personal trainer myself. And I realized that when I did go back to school, I went to the National Personal Training Institute because I didn't want to just learn how to be a personal trainer out of a book. I wanted actual people who are actual personal trainers to teach me how to be a personal trainer. Because I don't do anything small. I didn't want to just be an okay personal trainer. I wanted to be the best personal trainer. But really, I didn't want to train anybody else but myself. I needed to know how to get stronger in a way that was going to be consistent over time. So I did that, and what I learned is that I would ask them, these experts who are really, really good at fitness, I would ask them well, I have these flare-up cycles. What do I need to be doing to get myself out of these flare-up cycles? How do I move my body in a way that's healthy for me? And they didn't know. They had no idea what I was talking about. They're lovely people and they are really good at what they do, but they didn't know anything about autoimmune disease. And so I spent a lot of time, you guys, doing a lot of research about exercise intolerance and exercise-induced symptom flare-ups. And I had to figure out how to move in a way that worked for my body because it didn't seem like I could find anybody else who knew that. So I spent 2 years researching and learning and experimenting, and it didn't always go well. I had a lot of flare-ups during the time because I didn't know exactly what was right, but those flare-ups actually taught me something. They taught me, okay, I've pushed my body past its tolerance level. And so actually that is all the learnings that I did during that period of time, all the things I knew, I now put it into the Autoimmune Strong program. It's all there. You guys don't have to go through the trial and error that I went through because it's all there for you. So that was my goal. Once I figured out that I could fix my body, it's not fixed. Actually, that's a really important point. It is not fixed. It is always, for the rest of my life, going to be a work in progress. It is always going to be a work in progress. It's never going to be gone because autoimmune disease doesn't go away. It's part of my life, but I know how to manage it now. And I know when I don't do the things that I need to do to take care of myself, like food prep and eat my healthy food and move my body every day, when I don't do those things, that's when I realize that I am a person living with autoimmune disease because it's not pretty. So that's what brought me here to be talking about the Facebook Live, all this stuff in this Facebook Live with you. Ava, you're a registered nurse with RA. That must be so hard because you're moving all the time. Nurses work such physical jobs and have to move their bodies so hard. And then you have RA on top of that, which makes the joints so painful, the movement so painful. Like, you need to know this stuff that I'm talking about so that you can protect yourself and make sure that you are showing up in your job and doing the best you can and protecting your body at the same time. Because that's the only way, A, you're going to get through your day, and B, that you're going to be able to help the people who are relying on you, these sick patients that need your expertise. So one of the things about RA, I'll take a tangent for a minute, that I think is really important. One of the things about RA is that if your muscles are weak and tight, they pull on your joints. And so you already are at a lower capacity to handle joint pain because you have rheumatoid arthritis. And then if you have these weaker muscles, it's going to pull on your joints and like double or triple the pain that you're experiencing. I think this is resonating, Ava, because you're saying you haven't worked in 2 years. I get it. Nursing is hard. And actually there are a lot of nurses in the Autoimmune Strong program. So I feel like I know what I'm talking about because nurses are in a lot of pain. They're doing a lot of lifting. You're doing a lot of bending over. You're on your feet all day. And so there's a difference between movement and exercise. Right, so as a nurse or someone else who has a physical job, this was me back then. I was too sick to work, but I was chasing toddlers all day. So that was a completely physical job. Anybody in this physical kind of a job knows that you're exhausted by the time it's over. And the reason is because your muscles aren't, like the right muscles aren't engaging. And you're weaker, so you're not actually able to make it through the day. Your muscles aren't prepared to make it through the day. I think of it as being an athlete. Like if you watch an NBA player, right? That NBA player, when he's not on the court, he's in the gym training to be on the court. He's not saying like, oh, I play basketball. I played this game. Like that's enough. I did my exercise. He's training so that he can be most efficient and effective on the court. And for us, we need to be most efficient and effective in our lives, so we need to train for that. We need to do the exercises in order to train for the movement, for the running around, for the being on our feet all day. I mean, honestly, for those of you who have desk jobs, you need to train to be able to sit in a chair all day because that's hard too. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. I'm really excited that you guys are here and you're watching this because I hope you are getting something out of what I'm talking about. If you have questions or have life experiences that you want to talk about, like this is the place to do it. So tell me what you want to hear me talk about. And I hope that you guys are inspired about like thinking about this exercise intolerance combined with thinking about how we need to train for our everyday life.